been a while since I posted, so here, put some numbers back up for you. I mean to. It's having a kid, you know. Takes up a lot of your time. Okay, so this is going to be a little off the normal, because it's rare to see. You see all these translations, and they're all poetic sounding and awesome, you know. They're cool. But as people say, they kind of just show what the author was feeling. You know, it's more, half the time it's more speaking to the author and the translator than, you know, the material. So, I have two different copies. They're both very similar obviously, but these are like a literal English translation. So, you almost take it upon yourself to do some of the, you know, poetic, what is it, artistic allowances and all that, you know? So this one's cool. I'll put it in the title, obviously, but so it gives you the Chinese, so you can like translate it yourself if you want to with Google Image. It gives you an awesome, like every new version of Dao De Jing, you get these different backstories about Lao Tzu or Lao Tzu, or if he existed, in different, like, you know, things based off of writings of the time, or, you know, records of the time. So this one gives you a lot extra, which I really enjoy, because every new little facet that I come across, you know, it just adds more layers, obviously, but as do each translation. Anyways, let's dive into it. This one is word for word, but they add like the connecting words, like a this or the that, you know? So it's, the other one will be super blunt, which is apparently the way Chinese speak, is they don't connect a lot of things. They don't have tenses for words. They just say what is, you know? Which is cool. Okay. Chapter 1. A Tao that can be spoken of is not the eternal Tao. A name that could be named is not the eternal name. Without name, thus began heaven and earth. With name, thus became the mother of all things. Therefore, often without, intend to observe its truth. Often with, intend to observe its mysteries. These two things, with and without, have the same origin, but are differently named. Both are called profound, the most profound of profound, the gate to truth. Chapter 2. If all under heaven conform to a beauty's standard, then they are ugly. If all conform to a goodness's standard, then they are not good. Therefore, with and without create each other. Difficulty and ease complement each other. Long and short compare with each other. High and low lean on each other. Melody and voice melt into each other. Front and back follow each other. Therefore, the sage serves without interference, teaches without big talk, helps all things without shirking responsibility, creates without possessiveness, governs without pride. He completes his mission without dwelling on his accomplishments. By not dwelling on his accomplishments, the sage is remembered. Chapter 3. The sage avoids admiring the virtuous, so people will not compare and compete. He avoids treasuring the rare goods, so people will not rob. He avoids displaying his own preferences, so that people will not forget their own true preferences. Therefore, under the sage's leadership, people's hearts are humble and ready for truth. Their bellies are filled, their ambitions are moderate, their backbones are strengthened. The sage keeps his people without devious tricks and without ulterior motives, so the devious people dare not interfere. If he avoids interfering, all is well regulated. There's going to be some ASMR sounds or something. Chapter 4. The Tao is void, but its use never exhausts. A deep void seems origin of all things, dulling its sharp edges, untangling its chaos, harmonizing its lights, and merging into its dust. Like a vast water, it just seems to always exist. I do not know who birthed the Tao, preceded all emperors. They put in parentheses, whoever did so must have preceded all emperors. History. Chapter 5. Heaven and earth are not motivated by preferential beneficence. They consider all things equals. The sage is not motivated by preferential beneficence. He considers all people equals. Between the heaven and earth lies the lung. It seems empty, yet it is never exhausted. It functions by moving, breathing in and out. Too much talking exhausts breathing. It is not as good as staying neutral. Yeah, it gives awesome notes, like a paragraph for each chapter, which kind of explains more of the nuance of specific words, because you know it's hard to get it out in just one word because they don't have the same concepts as us. So one of their words could mean one and a half of us, you know, a word of ours plus a half of another word, or some kind of context for that word. So it's hard to get there without some background. But here we are on the road, right? The path. Chapter 6. The spirit of valley is eternal. It's called the profound mother. The profound mother's gate is called the root of heaven and earth. Soft and tender, it seems to exist. We could use its resources, but should not exhaust it. Chapter 7. Heaven is sustainable, earth is enduring. Why so? Because they do not have ego, so they are sustainable and enduring. Therefore the sage will put his own body after others, thus he will be the first of people. He'll go outside his own body's perspective, and thus he will preserve his own body. It is not due to his own lack of selfish motives. Thus he will sustain his own self-preservation. I guess by recontextualizing himself. Yeah. Chapter 8. Be highly sustainable like water. Water benefits all things without rivalry. It's taken for granted by all, thus it is likened to the Tao. It molds itself skillfully to the place. Its heart skillfully protects itself in the deep. It skillfully gives beneficence. It speaks with credibility. It skillfully governs. It serves within capacity. It moves with perfect timing. By offering no rivalry, it gets no complaint. Hence it is more sustainable. Chapter 9. Holding a vessel and filling it to the brim, it is not as good as to know when to stop. Tempering a blade and sharpening it, one still could not protect himself forever. Gold and jade fill a house, no one could defend it. He who is wealthy and noble, therefore proud. He himself causes his own destruction. Better that, as soon as his mission is complete, he retires with his body intact, thus dictates heaven's Tao. Chapter 10. May, they put in parentheses we on each of these three senses, but may be one inside and out, may focus gently as a baby, may be cleansed as a spotless mirror, may love our people and govern our state without treachery. The heaven's gate opens and closes, may it be observed calmly, may connect to clarity in all four directions with no interference. It births us and nurtures us without ownership, cares for us without self-promotion, promotes our growth without lording over us. It's called the profound day. Chapter 11. 30 spokes sharing a hub. Without something, it is made useful as a cartwheel. Clay is made into a vessel. Without something, it is made useful as a vessel. Drill walls to make doors and windows of a house. Without something, it is made habitable. Therefore, with something we derive profit. Without something, derive usefulness. I don't even remember reading. It's been a long time since it's been like almost a year now. Life is crazy. Chapter 12. 5 colors blind their eyes. 5 sounds deafen their ears. 5 flavors numb their taste buds. Riding and hunting madden their hearts. Rare goods tempt them astray. Therefore the sage appeals to the belly, but not to the eyes. Therefore rejects that and prefers this. Chapter 13. Love and criticism both cause trauma. Therefore the leader strives to preserve his body. So why do say love and criticism both cause trauma? People who depend on love are humble. With love, overly joyful. Without love, overly despondent. Therefore, love and criticism both cause trauma. Why do I say the leader strives to preserve his body? My greatest danger comes from losing my body. If I do not have the body, then I have no danger. Thus, if I preserve my body from danger, then I might be responsible for all under heaven. Only if I love all under heaven as I love my body, then I could be a guardian of all. Chapter 4. Looking without seeing, call it invisible. Listening without hearing, call it inaudible. Reaching without attaining, call it intangible. These three things could not be distinguished, so together they are one. The one's upper beginning was mysterious. Its lower end was somewhat clear. The rope history could not be named, so it returned to nothing. This is called the shape of no shape, the appearance of nothing. It is called the murk. Facing it coming at me, yet I do not see its head. Following it from behind, yet I do not see its tail. By holding on the ancients' Tao, could govern today. Starting from knowing the ancients' beginnings is the Tao's epic. Epoch, like epoch or epic. Chapter 15. Ancients who understood the Tao, they were subtle, beautiful, profound, and connected. So much so that they're incomprehensible. Because they are so incomprehensible, let me try my best to describe their appearances. Hesitant as if crossing a river in winter, wary as if fearful of their foreign neighbors, shy like a guest, distracted like the ice about to melt, simple as a block, open like a valley, murky like muddy water. Who could quietly let muddy water sit and cleanse itself? Who could quietly let turmoil wear itself out to bring back life? As a guardian of Tao, he does not overflow. By not overflowing with pride, he could correct old mistakes and create the new. Chapter 16. To attain the ultimate emptiness, faithfully maintain stillness. 10,000 things grow together. I use stillness to observe their cycles. All the living things, they return to their roots. Returning to roots is called stillness. The stillness is called cycle of life. Cycle of life is called the eternal. Knowing the eternal is called insight. Not knowing the eternal, people falsely do violence. Knowing the eternal becomes tolerant. Tolerance leads to fairness. Fairness becomes complete. Complete becomes heavenly. Heavenly becomes Tao. Tao becomes endurance. Throughout their lives, Tao inferred, keep them safe. Chapter 17. The best is inconspicuous. The next best is loved and praised. The next best is feared. The worst kind is despised. When truth is lacking, there is distrust. The best leaders are calm and with few words. They complete their missions and people all say, I follow my own nature. Chapter 18. When the great Tao is lost, people will fake beneficence and virtue. When cleverness is widespread, there will be great fakery. When 6 relatives are infighting, will fake filial and parental love. When a state falls into misinformation and chaos, ministers will fake loyalty. Chapter 19. Leave out the saintly and abandon the clever. People benefit 100 times. Leave out the beneficent and abandon the virtuous. People return to filial and parental love. Leave out the contrivances and abandon the profitable. Robbers and thieves disappear. These 3 value systems are never satisfied with enough ornaments, so the sage would put them in their place. Instead, he is plain and embraces simplicity. He abandons strategies and lacks ulterior motives. He never mimicries, therefore he never worries. Chapter 20. Approval versus disapproval, how much difference is there? Goodness versus evil, how much difference is there? What people fear must be fear-worthy. There is a vast, endless desert, I guess, of possibilities they parenthesize. Joyful crowds appear to hold a ceremonial feast, parading up a vantage point in spring. I alone am detached, looking for unseeable omens, like a pre-language baby. Lonely am I, as if I'm without a home. The crowds all seem to enjoy surplus, only I seem to have nothing left. My foolish heart murky. The ordinary people are clear. I alone am foggy. The ordinary people are prying. I alone am indifferent. Like the lights playing on ocean waves, like the gusts blowing on and on. The crowds all seem similar, only I seem different and lowly. I'm different from others because history's Tao is my precious mother's milk. Chapter 21. The great day appears to only follow the Tao. Tao's manifestation is only murky. Murkily, insides are signs. Sorry about that clicking sound. I have one of those blink cameras. Murkily, inside are signs. Murkily, inside are contents. Profoundly interesting, inside is essence. Essence is very true. Inside it, there is information. From antiquity to today, its name is eternal. In it we observe the Father of all. How do I know to find the Father of all? Based on these signs. Chapter 22. The flexible is preserved, the bent is straightened, the low spot became water-laden, the worn out is renewed, the few gets more, the multitude is distracted. Therefore the sage will embrace the one to become role model for all. He does not show off, therefore he is clear. He does not consider himself all correct, therefore he is corrected. He does not brag, therefore he is successful. He is not proud, therefore he is sustainable. Due to his lack of rivalry, no one could rival him. Ancient historians wrote, the flexible is preserved. They did not make it up. They honestly preserved flexibility and kept its ways. Chapter 23. Less talk is natural. Therefore, gusts do not last the whole morning, storms do not last the whole day. Who made these? Heaven and earth. If heaven and earth could not keep up violence for a long time, how could people keep up violence for a long time? Therefore, people who follow Tao, they share the same Tao. People who follow Day, they share the same Day. Inferred path of each. People who follows neither, they go their separate ways. Sharing the path of Tao, Tao will bring them joy. Sharing the path of Day, Day will bring them joy. Sharing the path of neither, neither will bring them joy. When truth is lacking, there's distrust. Chapter 24. Standing on tiptoes is unstable. Big strides are unsustainable. People who show off will lose clarity into truth. People who think themselves correct, they will not be corrected. Boastful people will lose their boasts. Prideful people will not endure. These faults are like the extra food and cancerous burden to the Tao. These faults can turn things into adversaries. Therefore, people with Tao will avoid such. 25. Something was mixed up, formed before the heaven and earth. Quietly by itself, independent and unchangeable, it endlessly cycles to become the mother of all. I don't know its name, I call it Tao. If I have to describe it, I'll call it the big. So big that it disappears into infinity. So disappeared that it is far away. So far away it returns to its origin point. Therefore Tao is big, heaven is big, earth is big, human is also big. The universe has four big, and human is one of the four. Humans follow the laws of the earth. The earth follows the laws of heaven. Heaven follows the laws of Tao. Tao follows the laws of nature. 26. Heavy anchors the reckless. Stillness rules the impatient. Therefore, if a ruler retains his burden all day and even in his far-flung travels, though he appears brilliant, he remains detached. Why should the ruler of 10,000 chariots behave recklessly towards his own body and his state? The reckless will lose their roots, the impatient will lose their control. 27. A master walker leaves no tracks. A master speaker stays blameless. A master accountant requires no counting aids. A master craftsman makes a seamless lockbox that is impossible to break in. A master knot maker makes that unsolvable knot without obvious knots. Similarly, the sage saves people sustainably, hence leaves no one behind. Seeks to conserve resources, hence leaves no trash. Such is called inheriting clarity. Therefore the masters are teachers to the noobs, while the noobs provide for the masters. Do not respect the masters who do not cherish the noobs. Though they may be crafty, they are quite lost. Such is considered necessary wisdom. 28. Knowing the male, retaining the female, is the creek of the world. Being the creek of the world, constant virtue means to stay with Tao. returning to a baby's naivete, knowing the white, retaining the black, is the model of the world. Being the model of the world, constant virtue does not depart, but returns to neutral. Knowing the glory, retaining the humility, Tao is the valley of the world. Being the valley of the world, constant virtue is plenty, returning to the plain and simple. The plain and simple is usable as a vessel the sage uses to fulfill his office. Therefore, the greatest wisdom does not cut or injure. Chapter 29. He who wants to take over the world and control it, I think he will not succeed. The world is a sacred vessel. One could neither control it nor hold on to it. Controlling it will destroy it. Holding on to it will lose it. Therefore, all things may be self-driven or followers, may inspire or expire, may be strong or weak, may be stable or falling apart. Therefore, the sage avoids excesses, avoids extravagance, avoids conceit. 30. The ruler who follows the Tao would not use his soldiers to intimidate the world, then his efforts get better returns. Wherever an army passes through, thorns spring up. A great military mobilization always omens a disastrous year. A sustainable ruler merely sets his goals, daring not to preempt with violence. Achieves goal without pride, achieves goal without boasting, achieves goal without conceit, achieves goal only because of necessity, achieves goal without use of violence. Things grow strong then decline into old age, so I call it without Tao. Without Tao will soon pass out. 31. The best military force is still not an auspicious vessel. Things into adversaries, therefore a ruler of Tao should avoid using. The civilian ministers occupy the prized left-hand side, while the military staff occupies the right-hand side. Military force is not an auspicious vessel, therefore it is not civilian staff's preferred vessel. Out of necessity he uses the military, though he is indifferent above. Will not glorify victory, since people who glorify victory are glorifying body counts. Such people who glorify body counts would not receive honors under heaven. In auspicious celebrations, the left-hand side is honored. In funerals, the right-hand side is honored. Lower-ranked military officers occupy the left, the top-ranked occupy the right, as in funeral processions. The more body counts, the more mourning. Victory in war is greeted with funeral mourning. 32. Tao eternally goes by no title. Plain and small, yet nothing under heaven could subjugate it. If princes could follow Tao, then all things of their own free will come to guests. Heaven and earth complement each other to make sweet rain. People could not order, yet of their own free will share. First rules are made, then titles are given. When there are titles, time to call a stop. Also know when to stop, thus to allow sustainable continuation. The Tao is to the world, like creeks running to rivers, then to the sea. I'm just going to leave out all the parentheses, it seems more fitting. 33. Those who know others has craft. Those who know themselves have clarity. Those who triumph over others is forceful. Those who triumph over self are strong. Those who content themselves are wealthy. People who don't lose themselves could endure. Those who die but are not forgotten, they have longevity. 34. The great Tao is vast, its choices go left and right. All things depend on Tao to survive, yet Tao does not shirk its responsibility. When his mission is complete, then he retires to obscurity. Tao clothes and nurtures all things without enslaving them, without ulterior motives, and gets small recognitions. All things return to Tao, but Tao does not claim control. Therefore, Tao is called great. Because the Tao does not think itself great, therefore it becomes the great Tao. 35. Whoever holding the great model, all under heaven will want to approach. Approach without harm, and all find peace, stability, and security. Music and food, passers-by stop to savor. Yet Tao tastes to the mouth, plain without flavor. Look at it without seeing. Listen to it without hearing. Use it without exhausting. Mm, 36. Intent to collapse it, first make it expand. Intent to weaken it, first make it forceful. Intent to lay it waste, first make it powerful. Intent to take over it, first give it something. This is the obscure clarity of. The flexible weak prevails over the inflexible powerful. Fish could not liberate itself from the river. A nation's sharp instruments should not be brandished about. 37. Tao mostly avoids interference, but it gets things done. If rulers could keep to it, all things will self-regulate. Even in self-regulation, still there will be destructive competition. I would suppress destructive competition through simplicity that goes by no name. Through the simplicity that goes by no name, self-regulation will avoid the pitfalls of destructive competition. By showing no bias and suppressing destructive competition, I prefer stillness. All things under heaven will self-adjust to reach balance. 38. The highest virtue lacks consciousness of virtue, therefore it's virtuous. The lowest virtue holds on to an artificial virtue, therefore it's not virtuous. The highest virtue does no interference and does not presume. The lowest virtue advocates interference, and it presumes. The highest beneficence advocates beneficence and does not presume. The highest justice advocates justice and presumes. The highest ritualist advocates rituals, and when nobody cares for rituals, he would force rituals on people. Therefore, failing Tao, fallback is to use virtue. Failing virtue, the next fallback is beneficence. Failing beneficence, the next fallback is justice. Failing justice, the next fallback is rituals. Rituals are flimsy substitutes for loyalty and trust. Their prevalence heralds chaos. People who think ahead, they got the Tao's essence, becoming a fool. Therefore, a great man stands on the thick, avoids the flimsy. He stands on the solid ground and avoids flowery adornments. Therefore, avoids that and prefers this. In the parentheses, he avoids flowery rituals and prefers contrarian Tao. 39. Ancients got the one. Heaven got the one to become clear. The earth got the one to become peaceful. Spirits got the one to become divine. Valleys got the one to become plentiful. Princes got the one to steer the country in the right direction. Parenthesis. Here's why. The heaven without clarity should fear collapse. The earth without peace should fear waste. The spirits without divinity should fear lost. The valleys without plenty should fear exhaustion. All things without life force should fear extinction. Princes without nobility should fear being toppled. Therefore, the nobleman has commoner base, the elevated has basement. Similarly, princes refer to themselves as the orphaned, the widowed, the unplenty. Is that not their base station? Is that not so? Truly, multitudes of honors are like none at all. Therefore, sage leaders, therefore, would rather not be like precious jades, but rather be like the common rocks. 40. Sorry, my voice gets gravelly and weird sometimes. The existence of contraries gives Tao its dynamic power. The existence of weak gives Tao its applicability. All things under heaven are born with are born from without. 41. The upper gentleman hears the Tao, he's soon busy practicing it. The middle gentleman hears the Tao, he seems to hear it, yet not quite. The lower gentleman hears the Tao, he laughs at it. If Tao is not laughed at, then Tao is not the real Tao. Therefore, propose to identify Tao thus. Clear Tao seems obscure, progressive Tao seems regressive, flat Tao seems bumpy. The highest Tao seems like a valley, honorable behavior seems humiliating. The broadest virtue seems not enough, constructive virtue seems like lazy. True nature seems to waver, a big square has no corners. A big vessel slow in forming, a big melody has no voice, and a big view has no shape. Tao obscures itself behind no name, but only Tao masterfully lends out and accomplishes constructively. 42. Tao birthed the one birthed the two birthed the three, and the three birthed 10,000 things. 10,000 things are backed by the yin to embrace the yang. These two forces yield to balance. Normal people of all things abhor being orphaned, being widowed, and lacking in plenty, yet princes refer to themselves as such. Therefore with things less is more, or more is less. What others teach, I also teach the same. Forceful robbers do not get it, therefore they lose their lives. This is the core of my teaching. 43. The most flexible under heaven vanquishes the toughest under heaven. Without and with enter into intimate embrace. Hence I understand the benefits of no interference. The teachings of no talk, the benefits of no interference, nothing under heaven could match. 44. Knowing when to sell. Fame or body, which is dearer? Body or goods, which is more? Gains or losses, which is more problematic? Strong attachment will entail much expense. Too much wealth will entail a rich burial. If knows when to be content, then will not be humiliated. If knows when to stop, then it will not be entrapped. Therefore will sustain and endure. 45. The great achievement seems lacking. Its uses have no drawbacks. The great fulfillment seems to be empty, yet its uses are infinite. The great straightness seems to flex. The great craft seems to be clumsy, and the great debate seems stuttering. The stillness overcomes the impatient. The coolness overcomes the hot. Stillness and clarity, we could right the world. 46. When the world follows Tao, war horses end up pulling the dung cart. When the world fails to follow Tao, mares have to birth ponies on battlefield. The worst disasters come from not being content. The worst errors come from insatiable greed for more. Therefore, no one to be content then could have sustainable plenty. "47. Without going out the door, knows the world. Without looking out the window, sees the heavens down. The farther physically ventures out, the less knows. Therefore the sage foresees without action, clarifies without showing off, succeeds without apparent action." 48. Mimic learning is practiced by adding complexity daily. Tao is practiced by cutting complexity daily. Cut and cut again until there's no interference. With capital letters, no interference. No interference is the purest form of action. Leading the world is sustainable only through no interference. Too much interference is not sustainable enough to lead the world. 49. The sage avoids extreme judgments. He respects the people's judgments. People with skills, I respect them. People lacking in skills, I also respect them. Skills are a virtue. Trustworthy people, I trust them. Untrustworthy people, I also trust them. Trust is virtue. The sage under heaven, he breathes in. His heart is empty and unprejudiced for all under heaven. All people vent to him as if they are his eyes and ears, and the sage treat them as equal children. 50. People exit life to enter death. People positioned for life and lived, 3 out of 10. People positioned for death and died, 3 out of 10. People positioned for life, yet they moved voluntarily to death, also 3 out of 10. Why this? Because the last 3 out of 10 people are excessively exhausting their lives. I often hear of the sustainable survivor. He travels in wilderness and manages to avoid the rhinos and tigers. He enters the battlefield, yet avoids being injured by soldiers. Rhinos could not gorge him with their horns, tigers could not maul him with their paws, and soldiers could not cut into him with their blades. Why is this? Because these 1 out of 10 exceptional survivors avoid vulnerable positions of death. 51. Tao births us, day nurtures us, physics shapes us, potential energy assists us. Therefore, 10,000 things respect Tao and honor day. Tao commands respect, day commands honor. Tao and day do not follow human commands, but they always follow nature. Therefore, Tao births us, day nurtures us, grow us and care for us, complete us and ripen us, nourish us and protect us. Births us without ownership, serves us without self-promotion, promotes our growth without lording over us. It is called the profound day. 52. The world had an origin, presumably its mother. Once we understand the mother, we understand the child better. Once we understand the child, we could return to protect the mother. So throughout our lives, we are secured. Stuff their mouth, close doors on them. Their lives are not over busy. Open their mouth, keep bailing them out. Their lives are not saved. Paying attention to the little things is called clarity. Protecting the weak and being flexible is called strength. To use light to re-illuminate clarity, then to avert all disasters, it's called inheriting the eternal. 53. Since I got the least common sense, I walked the great way, fearful of straying. The great way is very flat, but people prefer shortcuts. Courts are extravagant, fields are deserted, granaries are empty. Primp in finery wear sharp swords, bored with food and drink. Much wealth is concentrated in them, thus they become boastful robbers. This is very much not Tao. Guess that's where I was a year ago. 54. The masterful builder's buildings are never uprooted. The masterful martial artist embrace its inescapable. Their never-ending heirs will enshrine their mastery. In his body's travail, virtue is tested. In his family's travail, virtue is abundant. In his community's travail, virtue is persisted. In his nation's travail, virtue is plentiful. In the world's travail, virtue is propagated. Therefore, observe a body through the body's evidence. Observe a family through the family's evidence. Observe a community through the community's evidence. Observe a nation through the nation's evidence. Observe the world through the world's evidence. How do I know World's Day is like this? Here's my evidence. 55. Abundant virtue is comparable to a bear baby. Poisonous insects will not sting. Fierce beasts will not maul. Predatory birds will not attack. Bones are weak, sinews are flexible, and grasps firm. Does not yet know male and female is coupling, yet his member is up and ready, showing that his internal circuit is whole. Cries all day without hoarseness, showing the ultimate balance. Knowing balance is called sustainable. Knowing sustainable is called clarity. Benefiting life is called auspice. Letting heart command the force is called strength. Things grow strong, then decline into old age, so call it without Tao. Without Tao, things will soon pass out. 56. People who know do not talk. People who talk do not know. Plugging their mouths, closing doors on them, condoling their sharpness, untangling their chaos, harmonizing their lights and merging into dust. This is called the profound empathy. Therefore, beyond familiarity, beyond distance, beyond profit, beyond harm, beyond glorification, beyond humiliation, will be honored under heaven. 57. Use justice to rule the nation. Use unexpected tactics to lead military. Use no interference to win over the world. How do I know it's so? Because of the more prohibitions in the world, the poorer are its people. The more people wield sharp weapons, the more chaos is in this nation. The cleverer people are, the more exceptions spring up everywhere. The more legislations are enacted and enforced, the more robbers and thieves show up. Therefore the sage said, I prefer no interference so that people could self-regulate. I prefer stillness so that people will self-correct. I take no trouble so that people will be self-sufficient. I show no preference so that people will simplify themselves. 58. If the government are indifferent, the people are simple. If the government are prying, the people lack. Disasters are foundation to fortune, and fortune hide the seed of disasters. Who knows where or when the reversal of extremes would come? Because there may not be a resting equilibrium for cycles of fortune disasters. The righteous reverses itself to become tactical. The good reverses itself to become evil. People are mystified since ancient times. Therefore the sage are square without cutting others. They have integrity without giving offense. They are straight without taking license. They give light without binding others. 59. To regulate human affairs and to serve heaven's affairs, best use a farmer's husbandry. Only with farmer's husbandry there could be planning ahead. Planning ahead means accumulating virtue. Once enough virtue accumulated, anything could be accomplished. Once anything could be accomplished, then we'll not have to deal with the extremes. Without extremes could govern a cohesive nation. Cohesive nation governed through its mother could endure. Such as how should ensure deep and firm roots, the Tao of enduring life and persistent gaze. 60. Regulating a big state is like cooking a small fish. When the nation is governed through Tao, the spirits will not manifest supernaturally. Not that they do not manifest supernaturally, even if they manifest, they do not hurt people. Not only that the spirits do not hurt people, the sage also does not hurt people. Because the two do not hurt each other, therefore the virtue converges. 61. A big state should flow down like a stream. It should be humble under heaven like females. The females eternally vanquish the males through stillness. Therefore, if a big state deprecates itself before a small state, then it could win from the small state. If a small state deprecates itself before a big state, then it could win from the big state. Therefore, either self-deprecation is intended to win over others, or self-deprecation has the bonus side effect of winning over others. A big state succeeds by uniting and nurturing people. A small state succeeds by serving others. In order for both to win-win, the big state might better self-deprecate. 62. The Tao is the mystery of 10,000 things. It's treasured by the masters, yet it is also guardian of the noobs. Pretty words could trade in for honors. Good deeds could bring admirers. Some people are incapable of such. That's normal. That's normal. So I abandon them. Therefore, when the Son of Heaven assumes his position, he appoints his standard 3 dukes. Even if he procures his official jade emblem and his 4-horse carriage team, he should instead sit back and pay homage to this Tao. Why did the ancients prize this Tao so much? It's not because he who seeks it will achieve enlightenment, parenthesis. Even he who is guilty could still be redeemed through Tao. Therefore, becomes the most prized under heaven. 63. Act without act. Serve without serve. Savor without flavor. They added in appearing to for those, but act without appearing to act. Serve without appearing to serve. Savor without preferring a particular flavor. But those were just added for clarity, I guess, but who knows if that's the real intent. Big and small, many and few. In planning, difficulties must be anticipated, even while the project appears easy. In action, the big projects depend on small details. All difficult projects under heaven must be accomplished through easy steps. All big projects must be accomplished through attention to detail. Therefore, the sage usually avoid tackling big projects in big chunks. Therefore, he could accomplish the big projects. Because over-promise necessitates under-delivery, assumption of ease necessitates surprise difficulties. Therefore, the sage treads cautiously, anticipates difficulty, hence completes without difficulty. 64. A stable system is sensitive to maneuvering. If disasters are caught before manifestations, they are easy to avert. While still fragile, are easily broken up. While still microscopic, is easily dispersed. Act before full-blown manifestations. Bring order before full-blown chaos. A stout tree trunk began in a tiny seed. 9-story high platform was originally a small pile of dirt. Journey of 1,000 li, Chinese miles, began in stepping out 1 foot. People who act with fanfare will be thwarted. People who hold on to control will be deprived. Therefore, the sage does not act with fanfare, so he's not thwarted. He doesn't hold to control, so he's not deprived. Ordinary people starting a job often give up midway. If they are cautious all the way to completion, like how they first started up, then they could have avoided these half-baked failures. Therefore, the sage prefers no preference, devalues the valuable goods, mimics no mimic, carefully goes over the mistakes by everybody. Thus, he helps all things to follow their own nature and dares not interfere. 65. Rulers in the ancient times followed the Tao, not by educating their people, but by making their people foolish. People are unruly because they are too clever. Hence, if a state promote cleverness, this state is soon stolen. If a state rejects cleverness, this state is blessed. He who knows these two understands the art of decision-making. He who understands the art of sustainable decision-making has the profound virtue. Profound virtue is far-reaching, but is contrary to simple intuition. Therefore, will unite to usher in the big order. Uh, 66. Why are rivers and oceans called kings of all valleys? because they lie low, therefore they are kings of all valleys. Similarly, if the sage wants to lead from the top, he must speak from the bottom. If he wants to be the first, he must follow. Thus, when eventually the sage end up on top, people will not be oppressed. When the sage ends up in front, then people will not be injured. Therefore, all people under heaven are willing to help him, not grow tired of him, because he offers no rivalry. Therefore, no one under heaven could rival him. 67. Everyone under heaven tells me that Tao is too big. It is like nothing else. Exactly that it is too big, therefore it's like nothing else. If it is like other things, then it would have long since worn out. I have 3 treasures that I cherish always. The first is love, the second is simplicity, the third is not daring, being the first under heaven. Love leads to courage, simplicity leads to scale. Not daring claims of being the first under heaven leads to resilience. Today, give up love to courage. Give up simplicity to scale massively. Give up following others to lead. Such mistakes are deadly. Love in battle will triumph, in defense will endure. When heaven will save us, it first protects us through love. 68. Masterful gentlemen are not brutal. Masterful warriors are not enraged. Masterful generals do not give away advantage. Masterful leaders self-deprecate. This is called the virtue of no rivalry. This is called the application of human resource. This is called complementing heaven, the ultimate ancient. 69. Quote from a military leader. I dare not to be the host, but consider myself a guest. I dare not to advance an inch, but withdraw a foot. Such as advancing no advances, grabbing without arms, hitting without enemy forces, controlling without soldiers. The worst disasters come from underestimating enemy threats. By underestimating threats, I almost lost my 3 treasures. Therefore, when 2 opposing armies are evenly matched, the desperate side will triumph. 70. My words are easy to know and easy to practice, yet few under heaven could know, and few could practice. My words are backed by evidence, they serve practical purpose. Only because people lack in knowledge, they don't understand me. People who know me are rare, who follow my teachings will be exalted. Similarly, the sage wears coarse fabric, yet hold jade to their bosoms. 71. Knowing what do not know, this is the highest. Not knowing what know, that this is problematic. Only if know the problem as problematic, therefore could avoid the problem. The sage avoids the problem by identifying it. 72. When people are not awed by authorities, then the big authority is in place. Do not pry into their private lives, do not deprive them of livelihoods. Only when do not harass its people, then the people will not tire of. Therefore the sage knows himself without showing off, loves himself without self-glorification. So avoids that and follows this. 73. Courage that's based on daring will end in death. Courage that's based on restraint will end in life. These 2 strategies, daring and restraint, will either benefit or injure. Heaven seems to punish certain strategies, who knows why. Therefore the sage knows the difficulty in this strategy choice. Heaven's Tao avoids rivalry, yet reaches victory. Avoids big talk, yet reaches consensus. Uncalled for, yet comes to help by his own volition. Laid back, yet he plans ahead. The heaven's justice is like a vast net. It's sparse but inescapable. 74. When people are no longer afraid of death, why threaten them with death? If people are afraid of death, as death is rare and unnatural, then I only go after the exceptionally dangerous criminals and execute them then, who will risk challenging the police. Inferred. Ultimately, the judicial authorities are responsible for criminal execution. If other branches try to execute instead, this is like replacing a master craftsman in his dangerous trade. When someone decides to replace a master craftsman in his dangerous trade, he almost always hurt his own hand. 75. People will become hungry when their rulers tax too much, hence the hunger. People become unruly when their rulers interfere too much, hence the unruliness. People become reckless of death when their rulers value their own lives and control too much, hence the recklessness. Only when the rulers stop valuing their own lives and their control, then is more sustainable than valuing their own lives directly. 76. People are born soft and flexible, yet they die stiffened and strong. All things like grass and woods are born soft and flexible, yet they die dry and withered. Therefore the stiff and the strong belong to death, while the soft and flexible belong to life. Therefore strong armies will not conquer, the strong lumber will fracture. The powerful goes down, the soft and flexible goes on top. 77. The Tao of heaven, is it not like aiming a drawn bow? From the high point the arrowman aims low. From the low point the arrowman aims high. At extra range, inferred close range, I guess. At extra range, the arrowman reduces the bow's power inferred. At insufficient range, the arrowman supplements the bow's power. Thus the Tao of heaven reduces the extra, supplements the insufficient. The Tao of humans is the opposite. It reduces the insufficient to supplement those who already enjoy extra. Who could use the extra to supplement all under heaven? Only the people with Tao. Therefore the sage serves without possessiveness, completes his mission without dwelling on his accomplishments. He does not wish to show off his virtues. 78. Nothing under heaven is softer and more inflexible than water, yet the strongest things fail to prevail over water, because water is so irreplaceable. The soft prevails over the strong, the flexible prevails over the hardened. Everyone under heaven knows this truth, but few will follow it to action. Therefore the sage said, receives the nation's dirt, becomes the king of the nation. Receives inauspicious omens under heaven, he becomes the king under heaven. Truth seems contrary. 79. Make peace after holding a great grudge, there will surely be more resentments. Pay back grudges with kindness, but how then could proceed to make sustainable peace? Therefore the sage hold on to left half of contract, but he does not force people to honor the contract. People with virtue governed by contracts, people without virtue governed by extreme force. The Tao of heaven has no preference, familial or tribal inferred. The Tao of heaven has no preference, but often yield to people that could sustainably follow Tao. 80. Small nations with few people. Even though they own tools 10 or 100 times as powerful, they do not use the tools. Their people find death heavy, and they are not driven out to faraway ventures. Thus, even though the people have access to bows and carriages, they do not jump aboard. Even though the people own weapons and soldiers, they need not line out a battle. Eventually their people return to simplicity, using rope knots to record their history. They enjoy their food, tidy up their apparel, keep safe their homes, treasure their traditions. Neighboring states could sight each other, hear each other's chickens and dogs, yet their people would turn gray and die with self-sufficiency, never bother to visit back and forth. Chapter 1. Honest words lack beauty, beautiful words lack honesty. Good people do not debate, debaters are not that good. Wise people are not all-knowing people are not wise. A sage does not accumulate, because the more he serves others, the more he owns. The more he gives to others, the more he gets. Heaven's Tao does benefit and does not injure. The sage practices Tao by serving without rivalry. I think that's all of it right there. Well, thank you.